There we go. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to our workshop today, which is going to be kind of about our San Diego Gives campaign, but kind of learning from success. So we hope that everything is going well so far with your involvement with San Diego Gives. We thought it would be helpful to have an informal conversation with several representatives of organizations that did super well last year with the campaign. And just to, talk about a few, some tips that they had for marketing and connecting with new or prospective donors, ways that you might engage staff. There was a bunch of creative approaches to this last year, and thought it would be a great conversation. As you can tell, we're recording this, and so as we do with all of these, we'll post the recording, the link to the recording on the San Diego Gives website. I will add just one more piece that I was sharing with Adriana before we started, was that we still have a good chunk of organizations that haven't started their profiles at all for San Diego Gives, about 80 of the 327. And of course, this is particularly up to the organization. But once we launch officially on July 16th, and we have so much great stuff happening on July 16th, we really want to make sure that donors can find you if you haven't already done the profile. And we'll be doing more outreach about this, but it only takes 15 to 20 minutes to set something up, and you really can just add to it later. Just even if you did the basics now would be awesome. So if that pertains, I don't know that it pertains because we have 327 organizations, and so you may all fit into the category of those who have done their profiles. So in which case, thank you very much. We'll be sharing out all the great plans for July 16th. We have events happening all over the county with businesses and brew pubs and folks who are going to be Sammy's restaurants. All 7 of the Sammy's restaurants are going to be donating a percentage of their revenue for the whole day to San Diego Gives, and all of the funds that we raise on July 16th go into that Love Them All fund, where and our plan is, and we're doing other fundraising for this too, but the plan is to get like a good chunk, like $20,000 at least, to be able to put into the Love Them All fund, which will be distributed evenly among all the organizations. So of course we have 327, so we need to get a lot in here. Everybody's going to get $5, but we're doing our best to kind of work on this. At this point, I see a note. Yes, and I totally, oh, sorry. It's a little late to be adding as a birthday party site. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by a couple of chats that are coming through. We pretty much have it set, but if you do have a business that wants to participate in a birthday party, and it's a sure thing, and it could be, or you think it's pretty sure, let's talk about it. But we kind of have most everything set for that. We also have opportunities though for September 7th and for September 8th. So the actual San Diego Gives Day on September 8th, we're also looking at businesses who might do the same thing. These are all like, this thing is just a huge experiment, right? I mean, last year was awesome and beyond, and now we're like still hoping it's awesome and beyond, and it's still a big experiment. But we are trying to do that some more. So if you have those organizations, probably the better thing to do is let's see if we can do something September 7th or 8th. I have a feeling our marketing folks would kind of kill me because all of the visuals and assets are pretty much getting finished for that. Okay, let's move on over. You'll be getting my weekly update probably this afternoon anyway, with more information about all of this. So I'm super happy to welcome 4 fabulous colleagues who have all worked hard with San Diego Gives as volunteers and as participating organizations last year. And they all did great with last year. So let me introduce you. And then the way we'll work it is I'll ask questions, kind of like a panel conversation, but we're all still, super informal. So put questions in the chat too, and we'll get to everything. So first, I'll just start on my screen and go left to right. Adriana O'Donnell is also one of our great volunteers, and with the Sandra Sidro Health Center. Michelle Van Hoff. I'm just gonna say everybody is volunteering and really helping a lot, because I'm just gonna be like that forever. So Michelle Van Hoff, who is with Alzheimer's San Diego, Bernard Mauricia with Oncology for Kids, and the wonderful Jennifer Grantham, who's not feeling so good, but still joined us from the San Diego Humane Society. So thanks so much, you guys, and thank you for all that you're doing for the campaign. If you weren't, this wouldn't even be an experiment. So why don't we just start with kind of the tips that you have really to for the platform to stand out. Like, what would you say, because the platform is up with 327, it is a big group. There are ways for donors to search the platform in terms of issue areas, and we're going to have a lot of instructions about that. But what were some things that maybe you did last year that you thought really worked well for your platform? Adriana, do you want to start?
Sure. Thank you for having me today, Sharon. San Diego Gives is, as you mentioned, an experience, and happy that it's as successful as it is in year 2. And a lot of that has to do with your involvement, Sharon, as well as all of the volunteers that we've had this year. So for San Ysidro Health, we did a few things that were a little bit different. We weren't exactly sure how this campaign would pan out for us. So we approached it in a couple of different ways. So as far as the platform's concerned, we made sure to choose photos that really expressed our services in the community. I think that was the first step that we made, and also revised our narrative, what story are we going to tell about the organization? What would resonate for a San Diego specific campaign, a digital campaign? So the fewer words, the better, but still impactful. So we were really careful about how we described ourselves. And I mean careful by making sure that it was concise and precise to our mission. And then the other is we linked our social media platforms to Mighty Cause. And it's beautiful that that link is there for us, because our social media is updated thoughtfully every day. So you're getting up to the minute information. And then another tip, I got lots of tips, and I'm going to share them all if you'd like to hear it. But another tip was that we made sure that at the start of the campaign, we included the link in our e-newsletters and internal newsletters and internal emails and external emails. So making it a part of our messaging from the get-go that would have gone out anyway. So that's basically what we did on our end to take advantage of this wonderful platform.
That's great. That's super helpful. Thank you so much. Michelle.
I would just have to echo, the platform, picking out the right photos for that, having a compelling story about your organization. I just have to echo everything that Adriana mentioned, in regards to linking it to your social media, including it in eBlast, so that you have a lot of traction to that web page of sorts. So definitely echo that. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting ride we had last year, not knowing what to expect. And, it actually worked out really well. I think the best advice is to look at this as, more or less an online marketing campaign. Really include your marketing staff if you have that. But a lot of this you can schedule and do prior to, so it's not, only on one person that one day. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Bernard.
Hi, folks. Hopefully you all can hear me. For Oak, we're relatively well. We're a pretty new nonprofit. I mean, we've been doing our programming since '83, but Oak has only been around since 2020. So we don't have a lot of staff. This seemed like a great opportunity in the fact that it was really sort of grassroots driven, and that's who we are as an organization. So for us, we took the approach of, and echoing what Adriana and Michelle put on the fact that a lot of the visuals and the images that we had were families and kids that are in our system that are from San Diego. So that in and of itself was just a big story that we could really dive deeper into. And so then all the messaging around it really sort of dovetailed into who these people were, why support specifically in this region is so important, so that people understood that whether you're a local institution or whether you're a national group, where are the dollars and the stories, how are they housed in San Diego, what's being done, what are those things that you can really wrap your head around. And for us, our grassroots approach was we really made a lot of phone calls to friends and family, and that for us was the biggest thing, because we're two of us as co-founders are native San Diegans. So for us, it was the first time that we picked up the phone and said, hey, this is Bernie and Robbie, we've grown up with you since kindergarten. Do us a favor, come check out our page. This is what's going on with San Diego Gives, and give us some feedback of what you think. And you may actually recognize some of these families. And it was more of that discussion sort of approach where it really was, the epitome of this grassroots, but being able to drive them to a site and then allow them to do their own due diligence and research, knowing that, oh, I know that family. They're actually neighbors from here. We've got a connection to that. It really amplified the voice of who we were and what we were trying to do. So the site itself is a great tool. And on the images, like I said, we're small scale. So Canva is our best friend. So we designed all of our stuff in Canva. If you don't have a Canva nonprofit account, sign up for it. Just get it done. Those simple things make your life so much easier, because you don't have to go out and hire a graphic designer to do it. You can take the assets that you already have, make them look nice. And the biggest thing is just do it. We're one of the groups that, I'll sort of shamefully say we have not set up our page yet for this year. But, to all of you, for those of you who haven't done it yet, it's sort of a reiteration of the fact that it's okay. Like, it takes time, but take the time because it'll be worth your while. And try and do it as thoughtfully as possible. But once you do it and you get into the rhythm, everything sort of takes off from there. So don't get too stressed out about that, but definitely make sure you start doing it the next couple days, just to get a strong hold on sort of how you want to message things.
Oh, thank you so much, Bernard. I will say too, for those who did participate last year, you're updating your last year's page. So you don't have to start from scratch. You just go in and make whatever modifications you want to have. And then those barometers or thermometers or whatever, they'll reset as of July 16th. So that'll go back to 0 for everybody. But yeah, so don't worry. A few folks asked, and I didn't know the answer, but we found out. So there you go. Jennifer, tell us what you think.
I think keep it simple, whatever you do. That's last year, going into it for the first year, kind of as everybody has already stated. We try to keep it simple and focus on one focus area, community support services. And we had a matching grant for that. So we just kept our page very simple with some basic messaging and imagery. We connected to social media as well. That's a great feature of Mighty Cause. I love it. I wish it was on some of our other platforms that we use as well. But, and our focus was really sending out emails to our internal constituents and utilizing social media and doing like a light social media buy to help promote our page. But we just tried to keep it simple and did really well by doing that. This year we're gonna switch it up a little bit and expand our campaign a little bit more now that we have some experience under our belt from last year.
Great, thank you so much. So to kind of summarize, we want to be looking at keeping it simple, I think is great, which I think also just take the intimidation factor away from it, but really focusing on your stories and your photos and your links. And so I thought, sorry for the question, the charities that everybody is with. I got a question about that. I'm sorry. So Adriana O'Donnell is with San Ysidro Health. Michelle Van Hoff is with Alzheimer's San Diego. Bernard Marisa is with Oncology for Kids, and Jennifer is with San Diego Humane Society. So we tried to have a mix of, some social service, and we have animals, and probably are a little more on social service than our arts, et cetera. But the messages that they're sharing, I think, are pretty universal. So again, the stories of impact, photos, keeping it simple, linking your social media to Mighty Cause. And I think those were probably the key takeaways. So the next thing is, tell us a bit about, and the one that Adriana had said, which I thought was really, really a great point, of just having the link for San Diego Gives be on any communications that you're already working on, even if you're doing, end of fiscal year or whatever. Newsletters, whatever you can, because I think these guys know so much better. But if the message and the story resonates with donors, they'll be like, oh yeah, right, San Diego Gives, I'm supposed to click on that and do something. So I think that was a really good point. So talking a bit more about marketing and communications with your current donors and any donor prospects. So we just talked a bit about, those links and social media. Any other specific tips you have of how you've, engaged with donors? This is more the outreach part. And whoever wants to talk to them. Bernard, do you want to go first? Go ahead.
Yeah, I can jump in on that one. So we've had to train ourselves to be just a lot better at using video assets and things like that. So we started having our kids actually run our social media. So former campers, and so it's kind of cool because it's a different voice. So what we'd had them do is put together little snippets of kids who were in our system talking about, hey, this is a cool thing, San Diego Gives is this, it's going to help me go to Camp Reach for the Sky, which is, I find this really important and it's fun for me. And so then we'd send that out in an email format to donors and people who have been supporters and people who we haven't even talked to for a while, but just to, as we're starting Oak anew, and getting people back into the realm of thinking about how to donate, what they want to get behind, and in something so specific with San Diego Gives, it's sort of fun to be able to allow, your people who are in your system to have some fun with it, especially the ones who are the San Diego natives, and say, hey, I get it. San Diego's beautiful. It's one of the most philanthropic cities in the world. This is something that means something to me. And if you didn't know about us, here it is. If you did know about us, maybe you didn't know this piece. And to then blast that out, not just through social media posts, but also through an individual email that just says, hey, I just want to say hi, checking in. Most donors or supporters aren't going to just delete it. They'll take the 15 seconds to actually watch a quick little snippet like that. And I think that then gives them that extra motivation to give or to get behind it. And in our case, we had a $5,000 matching grant from a company. So we put that in the message saying, did you know this is thanks to this company, they're doing a matching grant. Here's your opportunity to double your gift right from the onset, and just getting them in that mindset of, oh, this makes a lot more sense. So we were able to be pretty successful on that sort of platform.
Great. That's terrific. So using the matching gifts, which also can and should, if you want them to be, put into the system pretty easily. And we have instructions for how to register a matching gift on the FAQs on the website. Adriana?
Yes. So one thing that really helped us quite a bit last year was the marketing and communications toolkit that San Diego Gives provided. And it was done by a marketing professional, very wonderful marketing professional with Alzheimer's San Diego, who with a team of volunteers really was thoughtful about providing messaging for LinkedIn, for your initial emails, how to talk about San Diego Gives, because it was so new. So I took that toolkit and I brought it to my team. Because although we are not large, we have a team. So I want to utilize their expertise, including our graphic design team. And they helped create graphics for social media that were specific to San Isidro Health. I mean, we have our own flavor. So they added that to the messaging. And then we also really took a look at who supports the organization and who we want to reach out to, and including the tools that we have available to us. So San Isidro Health is a community health system, a community health center, a federally qualified one. So we provide services to 109,000 patients throughout the county. And in each one of our clinics, we have digital signage, and that's free. So we made sure to include San Diego Gives messaging and graphics there. And the beautiful thing about that was kind of like a residual, was that our staff saw it too. And they could be proud of being a part of this very localized digital philanthropy campaign, which is really what it is. It's digital philanthropy. And so lots of questions came up from it, and we realized that we have an external campaign, but we also have an internal campaign. And that is how we were able to pull together a successful campaign. So utilizing the tools that San Diego Gives put together, and also making it authentic to us, to our messaging. So.
Well, and Adriana, you guys did really creative things with your staff. I was going to get to that in a little bit, but maybe we should just, kind of go for it more of what I think you had, like giveaways and a lot of fun excitement that you built among your staff. Could you share about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So COVID did a lot of things, right? And so it wasn't business as usual, not for philanthropy, and certainly not for healthcare or social services. So what San Diego Gives did for us was it gave us hope and excitement, and that translated in the internal campaign. So what we ended up doing was we took a look at some of the incentives that we were able to gather throughout the year, because we thought we were going to have a golf tournament, and we thought we were going to have all of these in-person events, but they didn't happen just because, COVID. So we were able to ask permission to use it in a different way to support San Diego Gives, and we incentivized giving, but only on September 9th. Mm-hmm. And some of them were like concerts and different things that you could do in person. And the one that I'm going to call out is there is a band called Banda Mas. They were performing in Chula Vista at the I'm sorry, that amphitheater has changed names so often that I don't know what it's called right now. But anyway, so Banda Mas, and very popular amongst our staff. And so that was the grand prize. And every hour we drew names for different prizes, no matter what they were. And I could hear people cheering from my office when people won.
Oh, wow.
And I can tell you that was like the best thing ever. One, because they're new donors. Two, because there was a sense of pride for what we do, and also the team that we are. So it was like motivation and team building and cheering for each other, and doing it in a way that was fair too. So we actually downloaded this program from online so that it wouldn't fall on a specific person that drew the name. It was automated, so nobody was blamed. And so that's how we were able to incentivize our staff. So going down to the numbers, we had said, you know what, we're going to try to raise $10,000 through San Diego Gives. By the end of that day, we were at 18,000, and 90% of the donors were our staff members.
Oh, wow.
Who never gave before. And I think that they had a hard time figuring out that along with being a healthcare provider, we're also a nonprofit. And that kind of helped with that understanding.
Mhm. Wow, that's terrific. And then have you been able to engage those staff as ongoing donors through the year, or maybe you're waiting till San Diego Gives happens again, and that'll be something. Yeah.
Yeah, so another like part of San Diego Gives that was beneficial to us is that it helped with having a consistent internal newsletter as well as a consistent e-newsletter. So as far as information sharing, because in philanthropy and as a department, we're part of external affairs in San Ysidro Health, we kind of see a bird's eye view of everything that we do, and we do so much. So we're making sure that we are being inclusive in what we share and how we celebrate our wins, and also like motivating to, you know, advocate, to be all of the different things that we need to be as a community health provider. So so in that way, yes, they're still engaged. As far as donations are concerned, we're going to run with what we did last year, and make it bigger, better, extend it from just one day of giving to start from July 16th on. So
Great. Wow. Thank you so much. Such great information. For our other speakers, anything you might want to share, involving, your staff or your outreach to donors? We kind of combine those two questions there.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in on that.
Great.
I would say for marketing communication, we did multiple e-blasts. We also looked at our donors and kind of did some segmentation, looking at our lapsed donors. And actually, we really benefited from San Diego Gives in that bucket of lapsed donors, which was so interesting. I don't know if they were ready to give now, or if we hadn't been on their mind and this was a different campaign. So that's very interesting to us. And then our social media posts really targeting, our current followers, taking out some social media, Facebook ads. And a big thing, and I think Bernard touched on this, is if you are able to get a matching donation, that just really drums up the excitement and really gets your donors to want to donate. While we look at it, we're going to get that money, and so it's more of a marketing piece for us. But if you have a donor that usually gives around that time or gives at the end of the year, I highly suggest having a conversation with them and seeing if they would be your match for San Diego Gives. And as far as encouraging staff, we did social media, and if your staff's comfortable to share it on their own social media. So I think, that was one of the ways that we engaged other audiences that might have not been part of our main focus from before.
That's great. Thank you so much, Michelle. And you're so right. I mean, the matches are so motivating to donors. And I think you're right too. And like keeping the matches realistic, it could be a few matches, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to get some huge thing, and you can be introducing more during the day. Bernard or Jennifer, if you have anything to add along these lines, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add other than I'll just note one of the things that we did. We just did a 3-part email series, and where a lot of times in our emails we'll tell stories or share video. Last year we decided to take a real direct approach and just basically make the ask and not necessarily share video. We did share video in social media because our video performs really well in social. What we found as an organization is that our videos don't perform well for fundraising and emails. So it was a different approach, and it really worked for us. And so we've kind of tweaked our digital strategy throughout the year based on what we learned from San Diego Gives. But our 3-part email series was just a week prior, in the days leading up. And so as we look to this year, we'll be expanding that out to 4 weeks. But it was a very simple strategy last year that really worked. And I think, having the match, just as everybody has kind of mentioned, is really a key motivator for donors, especially new ones coming on board.
Mm-hmm. Great. Bernard?
Yeah, one last thing that I'd add on the fundraising sort of side of it and how it translated. It doesn't translate on our Mighty Cause page because we were still trying to figure it all out. But we did a big push with our volunteers because that's pretty much our staff. We're volunteer driven. So we did a big push on monthly giving. And for a nonprofit like ours, that's small scale, monthly giving makes the world go round. So we ended up having a pretty good success rate on just the little things like, hey, $5 a month, $10 a month, that pays for marshmallows at the marshmallow fight, that pays for, you know, things that we use for arts and crafts. It's that little ask that allowed people an additional opportunity to give. Now, in our case, they then did the monthly giving more so through our website, but we knew it was because of the San Diego Give sort of campaign. And so, you know, we track it on our database. And I think that's where you'll see a lot of the your data and analytics of just finding a way to get them to that page where they feel comfortable. You have both the ability to make the one-time gift, but those monthly gifts add up. And if that's the way where, you know, in most years they only give you $20, but they'll sign up for a $10 monthly gift, you know, we'll take that net positive every single time. So those little things really sort of add up. And then you just have a more regular communication stream with them that allows you to show them, hey, did you know, your monthly gifts have allowed us to hit this milestone and this goal. And they feel good about it.
That's awesome. And you touched on a really good point too of what to do with these donors afterwards. So you will get the information about donors who give. I mean, that's one of the great pieces of this Mighty Cause platform is you will get contact information too and names. And so, in fact, we're going to be having one of our San Diego Gives University workshops later in August with Jeannie Schmelzer talking about, continuing donor engagement and retaining these donors. One question that's come up a bit, I know in some of the office hours that I've gone to, and I know Jennifer had a great response for this, and somebody just asked today of what is better to keep your pitch or your platform more general for your organization, or is it better to go with like a targeted ask? And I know there's different sort of, kind of rules of thought or schools of thought, I should say, as I mix my metaphors, schools of thought for that. And it's interesting because you have, you're all at organizations that have multiple programs, and you also know what is most compelling with donors in terms of sharing that. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. I think a lot are in the same position. Whoever wants to jump in can take that. Go for it.
I can jump in.
Yes, go for it.
I know for us, we positioned it as, Giving Tuesday as a whole. The Big Giving Tuesday is something where people are used to like giving in general to support operations or overall program support. We made it very hyper local with San Diego Gives, the fact that, look, this is in your backyard. This is a program that's been here for years. If we don't fund it, then quite honestly, it goes by, and now we've left a big void. And for us as San Diego residents and people who are tied to the community, those can't be options. So how do we find ways to basically to get it down to that granular level of like, look, this is what we're trying to fund. Here are the specifics. This is what it takes to get it here. And if we get it here, that means we're able to keep this community resource around for that much longer. And I think people just it was better for them to wrap their head around that, because they are getting hit with just a lot more asks, especially during COVID. And then they were going to get hit with Giving Tuesday, and everything that we have as nonprofits to try and get those resources coming in. There have to be the ones that are almost hyper localized so that they really set the foundational element, and then you can sort of grow it into, well, now our goals are, we want to increase it to this because we saw success in what we were doing here. But it really comes down to, can you tell the story that we started here, this actually worked, and now we've seen that it's filled a gap, so we're going to try and now jump into this, and then we continue to grow it. And I think people go along the journey with you, as opposed to getting overwhelmed with like, well, I don't know how that's actually going to translate to what does that mean here locally, and so that's our take on it.
Great. Jennifer, do you want to, because you had you last year, I think you did it one way and now you're doing it another way. So I'm not sure which way. Yeah.
So last year we had, we focused on community support services because that was the program that we were really pushing. We had a matching gift for, and it was a need for our organization. This year, our matching gift is unrestricted, so we're going to push for unrestricted funds. But what I would say in general, as just advice for organizations, is there's no right answer to this. I think your organization should look at where your need is greatest. Most organizations, I imagine, would be unrestricted funds. But if you have a really compelling program that is that you can really fundraise for and tell good stories, use that. I mean, more than likely, this, the fundraising from this one campaign is not going to fill the full budget for your full year for that one unrestricted program. So don't be afraid to fundraise for something that's restricted. But again, it's really an organizational decision that I think you should really look at and choose the best option to put out in front of the whole community.
And I also think you can change your messaging. You can tap on all different programs. Like we have a respite program that we would love to have continued funding, but it's the story you tell in each one of those e-blasts that you can touch on a particular program. But yeah, I think Jennifer, you're right. There's no wrong or right way to do that. But we were more general in the sense on the platform, but when it came to our e-blast, we did give little anecdotes of stories of the programs that we offered and how the donation would benefit them. So.
And I'll just add, you're right, all of us, it depends on your organization and what's the priority. I can tell you what we did was, COVID-19, and we're a health provider, so that's really where we focused. So I would also say to see what is relevant for the time and for your organization, what makes sense. Of course, we all want that unrestricted dollar, but if you feel that there is a compelling program, just as Jennifer mentioned, and Michelle and Bernard, then strategically, I think that would be a good way to manage this campaign.
Great. And if anybody on the workshop is having trouble discerning what you should apply for or position or whatever, there are a bunch of people to help you. So, we have a great nonprofit outreach committee. And so, having a call with one of those folks could be really helpful. We have others. So don't let it be one of those, which I know I do, of that kind of that analyze, paralyze, that you're not sure what to do. And so you're not doing anything. So just to, try to kind of get something up there. And then even if you want to private message me, if you're not already connected with folks who can help, we can absolutely do that. But the last question I have, and then we can open up to any others or of course anything else, is, and Bernard kind of talked about this a little bit, is the timing of San Diego Gives and the timing of all the other really important priorities that all of your organizations have. Any thoughts about that? I mean, we've had so many conversations from the San Diego Gives, planning time of like, is it too close to the end of the calendar year? It's not, but then, do you have it in the summer? And like, there's never a good time for any of this. And so it seemed to, which I still think is the way to go, that, branding wise, it's better for it to be at the same time, and let's just keep learning around it. But, any tips of what you might have done last year or what you're thinking about this year in terms of the calendar? Or if not, that's okay too.
I can start. I think I've already mentioned it, but last year we just focused on 1 week and promoting, and this year we're doing 4 weeks. We found with our matching campaigns and the amount that we have in matching gifts, which is this year's 50,000, that 4 weeks is a good time frame for us. So we're going to be starting about 4 weeks out with messaging, with an email going out every week, social media starting. We're going to be doing the social media spend on advertising as well as on display ads. And then the week of the event, we'll have more emails going out. So we'll probably have 3 to 5 emails the week of to our constituents going on. And we're targeting all constituents. So all of our past adopters, all donors, all lapsed donors, new donors. We want to try to get everybody involved. I think our learnings from last year is that our constituents look at this as kind of a separate campaign from our regular asks. And so we tend to get like a second gift from new donors or multiple gifts from current donors. So that's the way we're going to focus this year. We're going to be hitting a little bit harder than we did last year. So hopefully it'll all work out.
Great, thank you. That's really helpful. Anybody else?
Yeah, from Oak's perspective, San Diego Gives actually, it was fortuitous that it actually fell in September Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So for us, it was like, oh, okay, well, we already do campaigns during that month anyway. So it was sort of an easy dovetail into like, hey, let's make this the main thing, because that way, at least our messaging is always going to be sort of what we're used to. And so we're putting more of a push this year into finding sort of San Diego Gives champions that are part of our parent or supporter base that really can amplify our voice and take the messaging and run with it, so that it's not necessarily just something that's coming from us as an institution, but the people who support us saying, hey, look, I'm all in on this. This is something that I know if you've seen me around the community, this is a group that I'm tied to. This is why, this is the work that they're doing, and this is what I'm asking you for help. So we're trying to sort of cherry pick off the supporters that we have that are, really sort of from the San Diego community and who have much larger voices than we usually do, and see if we can amplify the messaging that way. And for us, since we're small scale, the sooner the better on the communication side. So we'll start dropping little things into our email messages and social media, but then really prepping for as we get a little bit closer to September, and probably like, but to Jennifer's point, 4 to 6 weeks out, where we can really have a solid stream of messaging that's going through and showing them, more so we'll capture a bunch of video footage at our camps this summer to show people like, hey, this is the culmination of everything. When you give to Oak and you're supporting our programs, this is what we're able to do.
Great, thank you. Michelle or Adriana?
I'll go.
Go for it.
Well, I'm really going to take a look at building the campaign that we started last year. And last year we did, started at early giving. And so this year, July 16th is our date. But the heavy amount, the real push, the call to action will be 2 weeks beforehand. I just feel like the closer we get to it, the more realistic it is for our supporters, potential supporters, and internal staff. And then the other thing is that we are going to do the incentives again this year. I mean, you build upon, what was successful the year before, and being really intentional about where the support is going, what the impact of it is. I think that you can't go wrong there. And if I may say another thing that was really helpful for us is, success is different. And it's measured different by organization. Some of us are really big and have great name recognition, while others don't, and it's more grassroots and it's one person shop. So I feel like we have to be have grace for ourselves and what we're able to do, but still building out that goal and really utilizing the tools that San Diego Gives provides, including San Diego Gives University. Your time will not be wasted, and a lot of the details and information that is given, you can utilize throughout your fundraising, plan for the year. So I can't stress that enough. So words of advice, words of wisdom.
That's great. Well, that's what all this is about. You know, there's it's all good. Um, I know that a few folks are starting to hop off, but we still have more time. If anybody just wants to unmute, ask questions, we can do that. Anything we didn't get to? Or we just can end, which is great. Oh, let's see. There's one. Oh, what good question that was just posed of any new ideas to get new donors. Anything else that any suggestions folks have?
I'm a big fan of reaching out to those groups like the Kiwanis, the Rotary clubs, all those places that are your local sort of institutions where, you know, whether you've had connections with them or whether you haven't, pulling in new donors to a program like this, it's great because it's a net win every single time. Those are very far and few between, you know, in what we do on a regular basis, pulling in resources for our organization. So if you can find a way through lists or people who are tied to different community groups just to get your name in the conversation, you know, all it takes is that one person to go. And that's where your front page, your landing page plays such a big difference, because as long as you have some information there and they can find you and they can read more about who you are, if they make that donation or contact you in some way, now it's on us to sort of figure out what their donor journey is going to be. So as long as we're able to keep in communication with them and show them all the things that we do, you know, really there's no downside to it because it's minimal resources for maximum gain. And those just aren't really around anymore. So take it full advantage of it. But, you know, especially if you're a small scale group like ours, we try and maximize the time that we're putting in because we don't have the bandwidth. So we have to work smarter, not harder, and figure out ways, well, how can we get in front of larger groups where it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be at 15 different presentations or, you know, Lord knows what it is. Can we just get, you know, in the conversation, not necessarily just through us, like through the connections that we have, and just say, hey, can you drop us into this and let people know we're doing X, Y, Z? Here's the information. This is what our goal is and what we're trying to do. This is why it's built around San Diego. And 9 times out of 10, people will, you know, they'll really shoot for the moon for you. That's what you need.
It's great advice.
Sharon, quick question. This is Jennifer with
Yeah.
Loyola San Diego, and I may have missed it on one of the previous training sessions, but is there a training session on how to connect your social media to Mighty Cause? I'm not aware of how to do that.
Yeah, I know Lauren's on the call too. I think it was covered in one of the in the strategy seminar. Is that right, Lauren?
Yeah, and you should be able to, when you log in and you go to your profile, your organization page, the area where it says, you know, social media, there should be a plus button and it'll walk you through. It was not broken. It was not working for like a week, but that got cleaned up. That got fixed. But that should do it. If not, let me know. I'm not looking at it directly, but I can pull it up here and just confirm that in the chat here in a second.
Great. So it's just something you connect once you are logged in and everything. It's not something I would necessarily have to watch a whole training on.
Oh, right.
Oh gosh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, great.
Hidden.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, for sure. Go ahead. Anybody else? I will say about connecting with new donors that you might have seen on the weekly updates that we now the campaign media outreach is really in full swing, which of course it will also be even more so after July 16th. But we are really loving stories of impact to be able to share. And there's a form that we sent out. I'm going to include it in today's weekly update also. You don't have to do a ton of work. Like really, this can be a paragraph or two, you know, and I really do know, because I know for myself that we have a lot of other work to do also. But we're trying to make this super duper user friendly. And so, but if we have some stories of impact that we can share, you know, out on San Diego Gives social media. You know, we've hired a really great PR consultant who's working with us too. That's another opportunity to get in front of new donors. You know, no promises, but the more you give us, the more we can do too. Okay. Very good. I think that's it for me, but anybody else have any other thoughts or questions? No, okay, so we'll end. I'm gonna stop the recording now, and